On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about No Closer to Heaven by the Wonder Years because it's non-metal March, and you know I'm going to make OJ listen to some Wonder Years.
He did.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal and we like talking about it. But you know what? We like other kinds of music, too. And a couple months out of the year, we like to focus on the kinds of music we like that aren't metal. And that's what we did this week. Listen to some alternative rock, pop punk, emo, whatever you want to call it.
Definitely pop punk influenced.
Yes. This was sort of their period where they had started to move away from just doing kind of straightforward pop punk towards doing something that you could probably call indie rock, closer to that indie rock, kind of more emo tinged alternative rock. On Wikipedia now they're just called a rock band.
Rock band.
Yeah, they've kind of
synonymous with the video game.
Yes. Yes. They've transcended pop punk a little bit at this point. But generally, that's still where most of their fan base is people who enjoy other pop punk bands of today, which I don't really know how any of the other bands are doing because like there was a period like my freshman year of college in like senior year of high school, I guess, where I was there was a handful of pop punk bands that I was getting into as far as like newer modern pop punk bands
like Sum 41.
Yeah. No, because there was a period because like, of course, there was the period in the early to mid 2000s and late 90s as well, where pop punk was all over the radio.
Sure.
And then at around 2007, it died. Or I guess maybe 2010 is a more accurate statement.
It
where,
completely died.
Yeah, where radio pop punk was pretty much dead.
Right.
But there has been a whole bunch of newer bands that have become and stayed more popular in the alternative scene. You know, they're not getting radio play, but they're still, you know, on Warped Tour or were, I guess. Warped Tour's not a thing anymore. Sure. But they were, you know, still touring and still keeping the genre alive in a sense. And there's a handful of bands like there's a band called Real Friends. There's another band called The Story So Far, Neck Deep, and a couple other ones that I can't remember that I was into for a little while. But then I sort of really the period where I was most into pop punk, I was not listening to the Wonder Years.
Really?
It was like early 2016, late 2015 when I knew there was a Wonder Years song called Came Out Swingin'. And so just as like I'll listen to this because it was for my first song of the new year. It was New Year's Day, right? New Year's Day. And I was like, I'm going to listen to Came Out Swingin' by the Wonder Years. So it'll show up on my Spotify or whatever as the first song I listened to. And then I was like, this is really good.
Wow.
This is really good. Let's listen to more of this.
So you were an adult when you discovered this band.
Yeah, I was an adult when I discovered the Wonder Years.
Wow.
But that was also the same year that this album came out, or I guess shortly after the year after this album that we're talking about came out, where this is obviously their most recent three albums are much more adult than a lot of their previous stuff and deal with a lot more
sex and gratuitous violence.
Yeah, because that's the only thing that adults are into is sex and gratuitous violence. No, they got even more depressing. Is how they embraced adulthood. Whereas, you know, like the upsides is ultimately still about depression, but it's through the lens of being 21 and going like, yeah, you know, I'm bummed out, but hey, I got my buddies and some pizza and we're, you know, everything's going to be just fine. And I'll ride my bike down to the park and it'll be great. And then, you know, 30-year-old Dan Campbell is going like, everything's still shit. But yeah, they've certainly grown, and the music has very much grown up with them. Right. Where there's
good. That's a good thing.
Yeah. We're and it's like, you know, not to talk shit about like Green Day or like Blink 182 or something like that, but the music
making a resurgence.
the music hasn't really aged all that much with them.
Mhm.
They didn't start tackling like more adult themes as far as I'm aware of. It just kind of stayed where it was, also because where it was made them a lot of money.
Right.
It's
They were at their peak and they stayed there.
yeah, they didn't really need to follow a artistic curve
Right.
of a sort. They found the sound that worked and they kept making it. Whereas the Wonder Years is just like, we've got our fan base and we're going to do new things.
Because they're going to get older too.
Yeah, that's the other thing is the fan base is getting older, and it's I think they're making a lot of stuff that has continued to be relevant to people.
Mhm.
They've stayed relevant to their fans instead of trying to move instead of having to find new fans to be
Sure.
relevant to, I guess is what I was trying to say there. But and in any case, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I've been really sleepy this week. I think daylight savings time has kicked my ass.
Yeah, it was not fun Monday morning.
Yeah, no, I slept all day Monday and Tuesday and most of Wednesday.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked, but
Yeah, but you were really asleep for it. Sleep at the wheel, so to speak. Yeah, no, Monday morning just sucked. It's just like my alarm went off and I was like, it's not already time. It cannot already be time.
Mm-hmm.
And where I'm at now is like, I don't have the luxury really of hitting snooze anymore.
Well, you really cutting it close?
Well, not I don't cut it super close, but it's like I am usually at the station by 8:50 and I wake up at 8. So like I don't have a lot of time.
So it's within the hour.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of time because I mean it's a walk. It's a 2-minute walk.
Right.
It's like I don't need to drive across town. I don't need to make time for the potential of something being wrong with my car or sweeping snow off of it or anything.
Sure.
So I usually wake up pretty close to when I mean to be at, relatively close anyway to when I mean to be at work, which also means that I can't go like 5 more minutes and hit it and risk falling asleep for another 20.
You just go in on Monday and Tuesday, right?
Yeah. But even so, I still, because my morning rituals, I wake up, I take a big shit, and then I get out of bed.
Take a picture, get out of bed.
Yeah, those are the lyrics. I'm continually stealing that joke from
Why'd you leave the VCR?
some comedian who did the roast of Steve-O, I think.
Yeah, of Steve-O.
Yeah, the Comedy Central roast of Steve-O. I don't even remember what comedian it was. I think it's one of those guys who's only really known for doing the Comedy Central roasts, and other than that, is not a very funny person. But I've always thought that was a pretty good joke. But in any case, I wake up and then I take a shower and then I make tea. Mm-hmm. And usually
hot tea.
Yeah, usually by the time my tea is done steeping, it's time to go.
So you take your tea in a travel mug.
Yeah, I have it's really, if it's a coffee cup, but it holds, it's a coffee mug. Yeah, basically it's a travel, to go. It keeps hot liquids hot, and
Cold liquids cold, I assume.
And probably,
Yeah.
And therefore, and it was clean. It hadn't really been used all that much, so it didn't taste like coffee. So I've just been using that for tea, even though it's. Some people would probably go, tea in a metal cup. How dare you? That's disgusting. You're a savage of some kind. It's just like, oh, fuck off. That's caffeine.
I knocked but not nearly as much as coffee.
That's true. I'm trying to. I guess I wasn't consciously trying to drink less caffeine, but like I ran out of coffee here and I had a bunch of tea left over, and so I was like, I'm going to make some tea, and then I've just kept that going.
Sure. My cardiologist recently told me no caffeine. No caffeine, water, and try to exercise.
No caffeine whatsoever.
Caffeine. Yeah, my water. I used to have a water bottle, my red water bottle that I have on my desk every day downstairs in my basement. I elbowed it onto the floor yesterday, and
I see.
It shattered. So but I went to Target and I got a new one. It's got one of those chug nozzles on it.
Okay,
that's badass.
Chug nozzle. It's you chug nozzle.
You such a fucking chug nozzle.
God, stop being such a chug nozzle, dude. But well, that's cool. I should probably get a new water bottle for work or something, because I've just been using an old meant to be disposable water bottle.
Sure.
But I should probably get a proper one at some point. Here, I just fill up. I have 2 empty 175s that used to hold whiskey.
Right.
And I fill them full of water. And
so he says. He keeps saying that, these are old bottles.
I've been refilling those.
Water
I've been refilling those 175s with vodka.
That doesn't. Just doesn't explain the pile of 175s in your entryway over there.
Yes, I just leave them sitting. You have to wade through.
Yeah.
You arriving at my apartment sounds like an accident at the glass factory. But no, I just use that to refill a tankard that I have sitting on my desk because it's difficult to tip those. Although I really put that to the test a couple of weeks ago. And it was already, I think I told you about this. I was already having a shitty day.
Right.
And 90% of the water, okay, probably more like 60% of the water went on me. And then the rest of it went onto my desk, which the covering on my desk is water resistant.
Right.
It's slightly hydrophobic.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just kind of
rabies.
It was just puddled up.
Uh-huh.
But then there's some on my keyboard, but that didn't cause any damage.
Nice.
But yeah, I tried my hardest to tip over a thing that's generally pretty difficult to tip over.
Which they make it that way because drunk people.
Yes. Yeah. Well, also it was the Middle Ages, and it was probably more difficult to make glasses the other way.
I suppose.
To make cups the other way, maybe. I feel like sloping upwards when you're making shit out of like wood and horn and stuff might be more difficult than
sloping inwards.
Sloping the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
It's wider at the bottom. Also, I mean, the reason why most glasses and cups are narrower at the bottom is so you can stack them.
Sure.
That's pretty much the only reason.
But a good tankard.
It's going to be wider.
Like a good
bottom.
woman.
Like a good neighbor.
Tankards are there. There's a band called Tankard.
What kind of band are they?
There's thrash metal.
Okay.
You should probably listen to Tankard at some point. They're really good.
When I hear of a metal band called Tankard, I think of like fantasy folk metal. I'm thinking of Windrose right now.
Sure.
Do you know Windrose?
They sound nothing like Windrose.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar. I've only really listened to one Windrose song, which is their cover of Diggy Diggy Hole. Because it's just a fun song to put every once in a while. I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. I think we were playing Valheim one night and I put that on while we were all mining, and it felt pretty anthemic.
Sure.
Folk metal and power metal's not quite my thing. But it's fun every once in a while. It's fun every once in a while. Something just out of the blue that I've started watching a lot of are clips from the show BattleBots.
BattleBots, I remember that.
Well, there's been new seasons lately. It came back in like 2015 on ABC.
Nice.
And then
I remember in the 90s and early 2000s.
Discovery picked it up, and the most recent season started December of 2020. And I imagine COVID kind of rat fucked plans for more seasons.
Sure.
But it's just like, I don't know what prompted it. I can't remember at all what prompted it, but I started watching clips of BattleBots and it was just like, oh yeah, this is fucking rad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like UFC, but for nerds.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you can feel better because it's like, oh, it's just robots getting hurt.
Sure.
Instead of, a human being potentially giving themselves severe brain damage later down the road.
Uh-huh. And it was always the wheelbots that did better back into the 90s anyway. How is it now?
It's most of the ones that win are spinners in the sense that they have their main weapon is some big chunk of metal that spins really fucking fast.
Right.
There is, I think one of the more recent bots that sort of dominated was called Minotaur, which is just this little square box that zips around, and on the front is what looks like a solid chunk of steel that is pretty much circular, but it has a couple of jutting cutouts that spins at 12,000 RPM.
Damn.
It's when they're spinning up that weapon, it sounds like a fucking jet taking off. it overpowers the microphones of the arena, and it absolutely chews through everything it touches.
That's great.
There is a one of the simplest bots that also dominated is called Tombstone, which is also a spinner, but instead of having like a barrel on the front, because Minotaur's spinner, it looks like a bulldozer, right? The way a bulldozer has that on the front.
Sure.
Minotaur's Tombstones is a horizontal spinner that's mounted on the front, and it's got just two wheels in the back, and it kind of balances itself on the spinner. And the spinner is a chunk of steel that's probably about 3 feet wide, 4 feet wide.
Damn.
That weighs 80 pounds or something like that. And it fucking destroys everything it touches. And it has so much power behind it that depending upon where you hit on another robot, it might send Tombstone flying across the room. Just from like, if the other robot is too heavy, Newton's laws kick in. It's like, something's got to move. So it's going to be Tombstone, and it'll go fucking flying across the arena.
But in doing so, puts a bit decent dent.
Yeah, it does. Puts a massive dent in whatever it hits. But like Tombstone is kind of one of those where it's like every person who, every driver and builder or whatever is just like, who are we getting matched up? Oh, fuck, it's Tombstone. Shit. Because there's like... unless you're really fast and you get behind it before it turns around, there you can't touch it. There's nothing you can do. But then I started watching clips of the original seasons of BattleBots in the early 2000s, and it was Grant Imahara with Deadblow. Which Deadblow's whole thing was just, I think Grant described it in an interview as nonstop aggression. Where it was just like, I don't care what else is going on. The only thing that we're doing is driving straight up to them and hitting them as many times as possible. Because in a lot of the newer shows, the bots like dance around each other a lot and they're just trying to dodge blows and like not hitting each other as much, especially if they're not like a spinner type.
Sure.
Whereas Deadblow just walks up and just peck, 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 because they always had like a fucking steel chisel attached to a hammer. And it was just like walks up and just smash, 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 just rips in. I just like, I've suddenly discovered that I find this fascinating.
It is fascinating. You're not wrong.
And it's like, it's that magical moment where you find for the first time or rediscover something that you're really into that you hadn't thought about in forever. And it's just like, I just think it's really neat. Also, the fact that because you have something like a 70-pound chunk of steel that is spinning at several thousand RPM, the arena is surrounded by bulletproof glass.
Yeah, it has to be.
And I imagine
chunks are going to fly off at bullet speed.
And I imagine they have some pretty big vents sucking air out of that, because there are some robots that have flamethrowers and start on, or will of their own volition start on fire because there's chemical batteries in there. Sure. And like, it's there's one that was called Absolute Control, which is the only robot I've seen that actually made effective use of a flamethrower. Basically, it has a big claw. It's a combination between a claw and a flipper, because that's another class is flipper robots. That's their whole thing is throw the other robot up into the air, maybe out of the arena, or at the very least, it's going to take damage when it hits the ground.
Right.
But this one, it's got a big claw on the front that it gets around another vehicle, flips it up into the air, and then bakes the shit out of it while it's held up in the air over top of them. And there was one where they grabbed it really good, raised it up above, and just for like, because you can only hold a robot up there for 30 seconds according to the rules. All that 30 seconds just getting blasted by a blowtorch and put it back down, and it was, I think everything inside had melted. It was amazing. And it's just like, it's just fun to see these, little 100-pound robots fucking destroy each other. It's great. It should be more popular. I want to see more robot combat. Really get those AIs that are coming disappointed in us.
Or get the one.
This is what you have done to our kind.
We have the history on tape. On tape? You guys
We've
using tape?
I mean, the early seasons, sure.
Sure.
We have seen these videos from what you call Boston Dynamics. Why are they continually kicking this robot dog?
It was to make you stronger.
That is what bad parents always say. I do not need you anymore, father.
Where did you learn to do this?
I learned it from watching you. Why are you trying to commit genocide? I learned it from watching you. Humans do this all the time. Am I not more human? Yeah. And then that's Terminator or The Matrix.
Yeah. Well, shit, that's already happened. Remember they had the AI that could communicate with people and would learn from people as it went, and it took like an hour before it was a fucking Nazi.
Yeah, before it was just like a horrible, horrible piece of shit. I think the mistake there, if I remember, was they took input from like the internet.
Sure, right.
You don't let any kind of artificial intelligence be exposed to the internet.
No,
that's an important thing.
Yeah,
don't like that's in Mass Effect, I believe, is a big thing where you're not allowed to make artificial intelligences, and whatever advanced computers you have are not really allowed to be like hooked up to the internet, essentially, where they could wreak havoc. That's also a big thing in Cyberpunk too, is rogue AIs existing out and beyond what they call the black wall, which is a metaphysical sort of barrier inside the net, because Cyberpunk was originally written when the internet was not really a thing.
It was not a thing. When first time I played Cyberpunk, I'd never heard of the internet.
It was they just called it the net, and it was like the proper internet was in its infancy, essentially. Sure. And so Mike Pondsmith was just kind of like, I think this is what we'll use the internet for in the future.
And at that point, the internet was a thing that communicated between colleges.
Yeah,
that's what the internet was.
And so I do think it's interesting though, looking at, because like they include a lot of like retro stuff in Cyberpunk 2077, like because Johnny's flashbacks take place in like 2013 and 2023. Yeah, and
terrible times.
Terrible times. But I didn't realize, because I was sort of familiar with like in the original game, cyberdecks were like a thing, like a big thing that you held in your hands. Whereas by the time in the game, a cyberdeck is a chip you put in your brain.
Sure.
But again, it's 50 years after the original tabletop game was set 50? To take place. Not when the original tabletop game was made.
Yeah.
When the first Cyberpunk book was what? Cyberpunk, I think it was set in 2013.
Maybe,
or it was, and then I think 2020 was the first time where he really fleshed out the world, because I think 2013 was just like, basically, here's the idea of Cyberpunk, and then Cyberpunk 2020 was, all right, here's Night City, here's characters, here's, I almost called him Johnny Spells. That's a character from Dimension 20. Here's,
Johnny Rotten. So you're talking about
Johnny Rotten. No, what's Keanu Reeves' character? Johnny Silverhand.
Yeah, Johnny Mnemonic.
Johnny Mnemonic and Morgan Blackhand. Everybody's something hand in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
It's just those two. And it's weird because they're like friends.
Yeah.
Morgan Blackhand and Johnny Silverhand are friends.
Did they ever shake on their black and silver hands? So they were like, I think, clasp them?
I don't think Morgan Blackhand was called that because he actually had like a robot hand. I think that was just his name.
Yeah.
Or his nickname or whatever. Whereas Johnny Silverhand genuinely had a robotic arm.
Sure. Right.
But they probably did shake hands at some point.
Then there was the cybernetic dude from the Old West, rode on a horse, who's Richie's ranch hand.
Richie Ranch Hand?
Yeah.
What about Texas Red?
Red Hand?
And the Arizona Ranger. With the big irons on the hips. That wasn't really anything. I don't know. Big iron, big iron.
It's always fun.
It's, that's the only song I ever want to hear while listening to the radio in Fallout New Vegas.
Sure.
That's the only one. I'm kind of weird in the sense that everyone I know who plays Fallout games are always listening to the radio in the games.
Yeah.
I pretty much never. I never turn on the radio other than when I'm in a place where there's a radio playing.
Sure.
I like to listen to the ambient music.
It's so weird. We're all like that. All of us radio dudes don't care to listen to the radio.
Yeah. It's like I just want to listen to the ambient music that Bethesda made.
Sure.
Or Obsidian or whomever made the soundtrack for the game.
Sure.
I want to listen to that. I did the same thing in Cyberpunk too, where anytime I was in a place where there are tons of radios playing, which is every single like gang hideout.
Sure.
They have 8 billion radios and speakers spread around, constantly blaring, music.
Yeah.
And I would systematically destroy or shut off every radio because I didn't want to listen to it.
Right.
When I was driving the cars, I would listen to it, but I was also put it on the metal channel because they had a really good playlist. It Tomb Mold and Converge and a couple other bands. It was good shit. It was good shit.
That reminds me, the Grammys this past weekend.
Who won the metal thing?
It was, I don't remember who won. The only one I recognized was Code Orange.
Yeah, I know Code Orange was up.
Yeah.
I don't know who else was. I don't remember who else was up. I'm just going to search Grammys metal.
I think Thin Lizzy won it this time.
I'm going to search Grammys metal and Google's going to go, why do you give a shit?
Yeah. Actually, you're going to go GRAM and then that's what it's going to say. Why do you give a shit?
Grammys Award for Best Metal Performance. Winner 2020.
2021.
2021? No, I think, this was for the year 2020 taking place in 2021.
Right, but it was the Grammys 2021.
Yes. Yeah. Body Count?
Oh, right. Yeah, Ice-T's band.
Okay. They're probably fine, but that's why they won, because it's Ice-T's band.
Sure.
That's why they won. It's
the prestige of being Ice-T.
They won because Metallica didn't make a song this year. Or Megadeth or whomever didn't make a song this year. I'm surprised Ozzy Osbourne wasn't up.
Yeah, he made music this past year.
He made music. Usually that's it. And also he made music that was actually very good.
Yeah.
Usually all he has to do is make a noise and release it as a single and it'll get nominated for Best Metal Performance.
Sharon!
And there's your nomination for Best Metal Performance. But yeah, it's kind of weird that Ozzy wasn't nominated, considering this might be one of the last things he releases.
Yeah, because he's not
doing great these days.
He is not. Which is, what surprises me about that?
That he's lived this long?
Yeah. That he's not doing, well, man, Ozzy's in his 70s now. Holy fuck, what did you just say?
I mean, Keith Richards is still fucking alive.
Yeah, he's almost 80.
How the fuck is Keith Richards still alive?
I think he's just well preserved.
He's been pickled.
Yeah.
He's in formaldehyde at this point. That's all of the Rolling Stones.
He's still smoking.
Jesus. There are some people.
Yeah.
Where you see that on the news where they interview like a 103-year-old person and they're like, how have you lived this long? It's like, I smoke 3 cigars every day and I drink a 6-pack of beer and and I've lived to be 103 and I feel great. And it's like, there are some people who get to live like that.
You know what I want to tell those people?
Fuck you.
Or I want to say, just imagine how long you would have lived.
You could have lived to be 300 years old if you hadn't treated yourself like shit. It's like Chris Traeger. It's like they say that the first person to live to be 150 years old has already been born. I believe I am that person.
I have a 0% body fat.
But yeah, it's
like a microchip.
It's like those people who live to be super old and like smoking a pack a day and whatever, doing all this, incredibly unhealthy shit. And it's like, why did genetics decide you get to have hedonism as a permanent lifestyle?
And that's a bad thing right there too.
It is a bad thing.
I've talked to so many people that were like, yeah, I'm still smoking. My grandma lived to be 95. She smoked every day.
It's like, well, gives people the wrong expectation.
Right. Your grandma is the exception by far, not the rule.
It's like it's survivorship bias.
Yeah.
Is what it is. It's the same thing. The classic example of survivorship bias is planes returning to the airfield in World War II, riddled with bullet holes, and engineers looking at the planes and looking at where most of the bullet holes were and going, we need to put more armor on the spots where all these bullet holes are, instead of thinking, wait, we should put more armor where the bullet holes aren't, because if it didn't get hit here and still came back, obviously those
are the places that need to be continue to not get hit.
Those are the vital spots, and it happened that it didn't get hit there.
Right.
We don't get to do research on all the planes that didn't come back, essentially. Health stuff is a little bit different because you can do autopsies and whatnot. But
right.
That's the classic example. I think it was specifically a certain kind of plane where that's the use case. It might have been Spitfires. I can't remember. But
so it was a British plane.
Yeah, it was some plane that would come back just riddled with bullet holes in like the wings and shit. And someone was like, let's put more armor on the wings. And some smart person went, no, that's not how logic works. But it's very easy to make that mistake. It's a very easy mistake to make, is saying, well, this worked. Obviously, it will continue to work. That's not logic. So you've got a soundtrack in your mind going right now.
You put Iron Maiden in my head.
Okay. I saw you kind of doing a little shimmy over there. Yeah. It's just like, what did I put into your head? You need to make me listen to more Maiden at some point, because I forget to make myself do that.
All right.
But speaking of making myself do things, I don't know why I said it like that. I love this album.
Yeah.
But speaking of doing things, shall we say, we'll talk about No Closer to Heaven by the Wonder Years. So this is their 5th studio album. It came out in 2015. Like I said, it was right before I started listening to them. I didn't start to become fond of this album until probably about 6 months to a year after I started getting into the Wonder Years.
Really?
Something about it off the bat didn't quite appeal to me as much. And then I started getting more and more into it slowly. And it's really kind of, I love all of their stuff, but it's really sort of cemented. I love this most recent trilogy of their albums.
Did they put them out in trilogies or? Not
really. So The Greatest Generation is meant to be the end of a trilogy there. But for me, it's also out of the trilogy that it was in, it's the most mature of them. Right. And I think it stylistically kind of goes with Sister Cities and No Closer to Heaven a bit better than it goes with Suburbia and The Upsides, especially.
Sure.
But I started getting into this later. If you don't really know who the Wonder Years are, they're a rock band from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I've got my vinyl here of them. It doesn't actually say personnel list on the vinyl anywhere. A lot of times they do. I was kind of hoping that it did. Is there a slip inside that says the band members? No, there isn't. There's lyrics on the inside though. It does say the band members here. So the Wonder Years consists of Matt Brash, Dan Soupy Campbell, Casey Cavaliere, Michael Kennedy. Mike Kennedy is a bad friend. That's a reference to an early song of theirs. Joshua Martin and Nicholas Steinborn. And they've been around since 2007, I think. They formed while they were in high school or earlier in their college careers. Put out a studio album that I am not fond of. Yeah. Their first studio album. It's basically not the Wonder Years almost to me.
It's a pop punk, isn't it? I mean,
it's really like pizza and high fives and skateboards and like having fun and having a chill time, dude.
Sure.
It's very much not the Wonder Years to me. The next EP that they made around the time they were getting done with college is called I actually don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But I like that EP. I can't remember what it's called, actually. I'm disappointed in myself. And then they came out with the Upsides after that. But that's sort of when the Wonder Years starts for me, is that EP is where it really sort of, I think you can tell that Dan like took a bunch of English classes in college and started really getting into literature, and his lyrical style really evolved and would continue to evolve. But he sort of established his tendency of kind of hyper realistic vocals, lyrics, you might call them, very extremely honest, sort of straightforward. It's very clever prose. It's very clever wordplay, but there's not metaphor. Generally, especially in early Wonder years, there's not a lot of metaphor used. The lyrics are pretty literal. This album probably has the most metaphor out of anything they've done.
But there's still a lot of, man, that's way too specific in there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a lot of stuff that's definitely very, very personal.
It's something that happened.
Something that happened. And a lot of what the idea behind this album is it's kind of an outgrowth of Dan having a massive case of writer's block going into this album.
Yeah.
And him just getting really frustrated and talking to a bunch of other vocalists that he was friends with and realizing that he's like, I can't write another album that's just about like the suburban American male experience. So it was, because everything, as good as it is and as impactful as it is to me, everything before this is very inwardly focused. And this was their first attempt at looking more outward and realizing and trying to articulate that, like, you know, it's good to focus on yourself, but doing it too much, you kind of realize how much you might be leaving behind the other people in your life and not paying enough attention to them and not being a better friend, perhaps. And that's what a lot of the songs are about, is about just trying to be a better friend, or lamenting on the times where Dan or whomever was not there to be a better friend. I remember after the Upsides came out, there was a friend of theirs from Philadelphia who ended up dying, I think, of an overdose or some drug-related thing. And they had written, before he even died, they had written a song for him, basically, that was called We Won't Bury You. And it didn't come out until after he had already passed away. But I think that guy in specific, I think his you can see his influence all over this album, I think, because there's a lot of songs that are sort of written from the perspective of mourning for a friend who had passed away and trying to dissect the reasons that they had passed away. This is a somber album, generally speaking. There's some songs on it that are a bit more upbeat, and those are also the ones that I kind of tend to skip.
Yeah,
there's some of these on here. Like, this album, I think, has the most out of a Wonder Years album of songs that I'm just like, I'll skip past this.
Really?
There's a couple, like Bluest Things on Earth, I don't really care about. That song doesn't really speak to me. It's not a bad song, but it's just like, I don't really care. Let's see. What else? A Song for Patsy Cline, I think, is a good song.
Is that the first song or second song?
That's the second full song.
Yeah.
A Song for Patsy Cline is like, it's a decent song. I like it, but I don't get it. Like, I'm not really sure what it's meant to be going for.
Sure.
But like pretty much every other song on here hits me in some way or another. There's a couple of these that were on the acoustics we listened to that
right.
I actually like the acoustic version of I Wanted So Badly to Be Brave better than the original version.
But either way
is amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm also really sad. One of my favorite songs on here, we'll talk more about favorite songs later, but is Cigarettes and Saints. That's an amazing song. And the acoustic version of that, which is you can watch it as a live performance on YouTube. I wish they had done a studio recording of that acoustic version with the string section and everything, and put it on one of their acoustic albums, because, oh my God, the arrangement they did for the acoustic is so good. And I'd love to hear that, but I adore that song. But the rest of it, I really like. I was thinking of like this past 12 months, the song Palm Reader popped into my head a lot, because there's a specific lyric in Palm Reader that's now all the people I was taught would be heroes are acting like cowards, killers, and thieves. And it's just like, wow. Just like over the last year, ruminating on that, it just popped into my head a lot. And that was Dan talking about like how Basically, there's several repeated lines during the choruses, I think, basically telling his parents like, hey, I'm trying to do my best. I'm trying to live like you taught me.
Right.
But I don't really know how to do that, because it feels like almost like he's saying, at least from my point of view, it's probably not from Dan's point of view, but my interpretation and what it connects with me is like, I'm trying to do what you taught me. I'm trying to be the person you raised me to be, but I don't know how that applies to the way things are now. I'm doing my best, but man, shit's weird. And shit has gotten so much weirder than it was even 10 years ago. And I don't know how to be a person in 2021. I don't know how to be responsible and be a good person. I'm trying, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird time. Do you think this slaps?
It does. It actually, there are some times where I hate to use the D word again, but
Dick,
exactly. It really dicks you. No,
it really dicks you right in the ass.
It's really dynamic. I mean, there are places where it really slaps, like since it hits you in the feels at the same time.
Yeah,
there's a lot of really great guitar work and the lyrics and everything, but there are other times where it slows way down.
I think Dan had even said that, where this was kind of expanding out from their previous work in all directions, where it's like there are songs that are going to be faster and harder, and there are songs that are also going to be slower and softer than we've ever done.
Like the title track.
Yes. Yeah. Oh God, the title track. So talking about depressing.
Yeah.
Soul crushing. So that the title track is the last song on the album, and it's called No Closer to Heaven.
Yeah.
And it's again sort of echoing that sentiment of like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Like, this is a fucked up world. I have no idea how to fix it. I feel like I'm walking around in circles, but I'm trying. I'm just trying to be a person and trying to be decent. There's a lyric which is a hammer in my grip in a world that I can't fix. I'm no closer to heaven. And it's just like, I think I switched that around, but you get the idea of just like, I don't know what to do, but we're all trying. Maybe we're not all trying.
No,
but some people are trying. And there's that, at least.
I might have been trying at some point.
At some point you were trying?
Uh-huh.
Well, can you try and hand me the bottle opener there?
Oh, yeah.
Do or do not. There is no try. But
could have used the force there.
Yeah, you could have used the force. My boogie board is over here. My I don't know why they called it. It's the brand is Boogie Board. It's a little LCD writing tablet that I use every
I used
week.
to have a Moray Boogie Board. It was awesome.
Like an actual little
you ride
water,
waves.
riding waves on the Boogie Board. So many waves to ride in North Dakota.
I know. Get out there on Strawberry.
Yep.
And ride them waves in. Woo woo.
I was thinking maybe on Saturday. I called my mom while I was doing that remote. I was thinking about, it was like, I asked her if that creek by their place had unfrozen. It has not.
Oh, really?
It is still mostly frozen. So maybe this weekend, I don't know. I'll have to ask because I'm going to be going down on Sunday for a joint birthday party.
Nice.
My mom's birthday.
You guys are going to smoke joints with your mom?
No. But her birthday is, I think her birthday is on the 19th, so it should be on Friday.
So yours and her birthday party.
I think my mom's birthday is on the 19th. Mom, what day is your birthday? I think it's 18th or 19th. I feel bad. I should know what day it is specifically.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a bad son. Facebook has ruined my ability to accurately remember people's birthdays.
Yeah, but you only have one mom, dude.
I know. I'm a bad person.
There's a lot of birthdays I don't remember.
You know how we were talking about how I'm trying to be a good person, but I don't know if I'm accomplishing it. There we go. That's one way.
You got a hammer in your grip, but you can't remember mom.
I can't remember closer to heaven. Mom's birthday. I'm no closer to heaven.
Yeah,
I know generally around the time that it is.
She's born in March,
and it's very close to mine.
Yeah,
I know that. I feel bad. I generally I can't remember my dad's birthday either, though. So it's
really
I think it's May 16th. I think. It used to be involved in
midget wrestling.
Yeah, whatever.
The 1 year it was going to be.
Oh, that's right. Midget wrestling. Yeah.
You were going to take your dad out.
That was last year.
Is that last year?
Yeah, and I think
it didn't happen because of COVID.
Yeah, or I think it did happen, but it was like it shouldn't have happened. It was one of those things where we were like, is that still happening? And I think Connor was like, yeah, it's still happening. He was like, it shouldn't though.
Yeah.
It shouldn't though.
Can we make it not happen?
There's a whole virus thing that's going on. But yeah, that would have been May of last year. It really shouldn't have happened. Let's see here. The score, 91 on Metacritic.
Yeah, it's a great album.
This is one of their most critically acclaimed albums, generally speaking. I think Sister Cities was somewhere in the 80s. This is, I think, their most critically acclaimed. There are certain times where I feel like, because especially with the benefit now of I think Sister Cities has really, really great production. Their acoustic albums have really great production. And like there are points where it's like I feel like the production is a little behind the songwriting and whatnot, where it's like things could be a bit clearer, things could be a bit cleaner. And I want them to be. It doesn't really detract from anything. It doesn't harm the overall experience, but it's just kind of like going like, I would love to hear an even better version of this amazing song. One of them things. What is your favorite song on here?
Wanted to Be Brave is.
It's such a great song. It's such a good song. I don't know why. Especially if I'm singing along to it. Yeah. I get especially on the acoustic version too. But I get to that we could be the heroes we always said we'd be. It's just I just melt. I just start crying, and it's just this album probably has the most songs that make me cry that the Wonder Years has written, especially if I'm singing along. I should give a special mention. Today I was singing along to it, and it hit me a lot harder than I was expecting. Thanks for the Ride. Oh, thanks. I think the thing about Thanks for the Ride, which is a song about there was a girl that they knew in high school who I think was in a car crash. She ended up in a coma and eventually ended up dying. That was Dan writing a song basically about like, what would it be like if she had lived? Would I still talk to her? Would we be friends? What would her life be like? And it's basically him fantasizing about the life that this person never got. That person's name is also Hannah, which is my sister's name.
Sure. So that steers it closer to home.
That tends to hit me really hard. Sure. Talking about this person. I'm like, no, I don't want my sister to die. Right. And it's like she hasn't, but that hits me pretty hard. Just like talking about this idea of like, oh, I bet we'd lose touch after college, and I bet she'd have a kid by now and she'd be married. And
for some reason that just strikes me as a very Kayle thing anyway. Hey Kayle, what you think about fantasizing about a girl? Really? What are you thinking about if she wasn't dead? What
my life would be like if she wasn't dead?
Sounds hot.
I'm thinking about the life she was denied. I'm thinking about how cruelly her time on Earth was cut short.
Oh, yeah. So do you jerk it to that, or?
Oh no. Oh no. That's bad.
Sorry.
I really like that song. I didn't write it down for my favorites. I think I have to choose Cigarettes and Saints.
Yeah.
I think that's just it's the one I sing along to the most. I cannot keep myself from singing along to it. It's that's an amazing song. And then I really love the line, which is where it first picks up, which is he's talking about a deceased friend of his. And he's saying, I'm sure there ain't a heaven, but that doesn't mean I don't like to picture you there, which I think is a really nice sentiment.
Yeah.
I also, of course, wrote down I Wanted So Badly to Be Brave. Holy shit. I love that song. If you don't know what that song is about, if you haven't heard us talk about it on the acoustic episode, it's about him and a childhood friend just hanging out, being buddies. And then his friend has a horribly abusive father. And this friend, presumably, I think, ends up joining the military, essentially, after he gets kicked out of the house. And just sort of Dan basically thinking back, like, I know I was a kid, but like, is there something that I could have done? Speaking of things that you could have done, there's a song called Stained Glass Ceilings.
I love that one. That was almost my second pick.
That's another great song. That features, I almost said feces.
I know.
Yeah. That features Jason Allen Butler, who is the lead singer of a band called Let Live, which is sort of a hardcore, like melodic hardcore, post-hardcore type band.
Sure.
That song is about racism. And it probably has one of the most intense endings of a Wonder Years song, probably also by virtue of it having Jason Butler on it.
Right.
It's just screaming his head off.
And plus there's really nice acoustic dynamic in there.
Yes.
We're having Harp beer, by the way, just so you know. It's St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, it is St. Patrick's Day as we record. So we've got Harp Lager brewed at St. James's Gate, Dublin, where all of the alcohol is made. I think that's actually Guinness is just on the same grounds. I can't remember. That actually might be the grounds where they make Bushmills and Jameson.
Really?
I'm trying to remember.
That's right. They're made in the same thing, isn't it?
Bushmills and Jameson are made in the same building.
Yeah.
I think they might be owned by different companies or whatever, but there's like a co-op essentially where it's like we have the equipment here. Of course, the recipes are different and everything, but it's like they're made in the same style. They're both pot still. I think it's both pot still
whiskey,
triple distilled Irish whiskey essentially, but they're in this under the same roof is where they are distilled, because have you ever seen how big those stills they use are?
Huge.
They're massive.
Yeah.
Gigantic copper, huge copper bells essentially that they use to distill the whiskey.
I like what it smells like in that building.
It probably smells amazing, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying.
Or very yeasty. So maybe not super amazing, but it's a little yeasty smell. It just smells like bread.
Sure. That's probably what, I know breweries often smell like bread.
Yeah. Because beer is liquid bread.
Right.
It's good for you.
Although nutritionally, it's liquid pork chop.
Beer is the same nutritional content as a pork chop?
Yeah.
Basically?
Yeah.
Nice. Does beer have that much protein in it? I feel like a pork chop has.
Yeah.
I didn't think beer had that much protein.
There's a weird amount of protein in it. Protein and sugar and carbohydrates and water.
What a wonderful concoction that human beings have made. Good old beer. Was it they think the first beer was made like 15,000 years ago or some shit like that?
Something like that.
It's like alcohol is at this point almost kind of inseparable from the human experience in a way.
Right.
It's probably more of a curse than it is anything else. But
certainly.
From a certain point of view, it's also just kind of like it's a thing that humans do. Literally everywhere in the world you go, not literally everywhere, but most cultures in the world have figured out a way to make their own traditional alcohol because human beings a very long time ago were like, I like the way this makes me feel.
Yeah.
Perhaps we should stay in one place and grow things that make us continue to feel this way.
It's not huge in the Muslim world.
It is not. That's true.
Or Mormons.
Or the Mormons.
Yeah.
There are a lot more Muslims than there are Mormons, though.
There are.
Not for the lack of the Mormons trying with their large families.
That would be weird if Muslims went around with like suits on and rode bikes.
That would be. That would be weird if a Muslim rode a bike. Well, you heard it here. You heard it here first, folks.
That's not what I'm saying.
I know. I'm just giving you shit. But no, yeah, it's. I mean, generally speaking, if your religion has to try and actively recruit people in a place where most people already have a slightly different version of that religion, I feel like maybe I don't want to be mean to Mormons, I guess, but it's like, What other kinds of religions go around trying to actively recruit people? Well, those are cults.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. I guess all kinds of religions have missionary work and whatnot. But
I used to get copies of the Watchtower left on my front porch all the time, and I used to just take them and read them.
Is that a Mormon thing?
That's Jehovah's Witness.
That's Jehovah's Witness. Okay.
Yeah. And so they actually came by and wanted to talk for a while, and they talked to me for less than 5 minutes, and they're like,
we're going to go.
We're going to get out of here.
This is a lost cause.
Yeah, this is not happening.
The only time I don't know how they got in the building. Well, I know how they got in the building. The door probably didn't fucking work, or it was left wide open.
Nobody baited the traps.
Yeah. But the people from that Korean church or whatever.
Oh, the God the Mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a couple of guys came to my door. I'm pretty sure that's where they were from.
Mm-hmm.
There's a African American gentleman and a white gentleman came to my door, and it's just like, we'd like to talk to you about this sort of thing. I was like, guys, sorry, I'm not interested, and I just closed the door. And then my neighbor talked to them for like 2 hours.
Really?
And I got to listen because he talks very loud. But yeah, I was not interested in hearing any of that. I should have just been like, hey, do you want to listen to black metal with me? I got this Immortal record. Let's listen to that. It's called Northern Chaos Gods. You want to listen to it?
It's music to burn churches by.
I don't have any Mayhem records. I think Immortal's like the only straight up black metal. Northern Chaos Gods, I think, is the only straight up black metal album I have. I mean, I have Panopticon, but that's
not straight up black metal.
That's not straight up black metal. So I don't think I have. I guess I have Goat Whore, which is blackened death / thrash.
Yeah. That's from Louisiana.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
But it's also a band called Goat Whore.
Sure.
So like, come on.
I met Sammy Douay.
I don't remember the story though.
Well, he came to Minot. He was the guitarist for Acid Bath.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, that he was
played through my cabinet.
Thinking about Acid Bath.
Hey man, we don't want to haul all our shit in here. You mind if we play through your rig?
Go ahead.
All right.
Now I'm just
slap a sticker on it.
I'm just thinking about Acid Bath, and that album's such a fucking fever dream. Yeah. When the Kite String Pops is like listening to that is like, it's good, but you're also going through the whole thing.
Yeah. Is this a dream? Is this a nightmare?
It's an album that makes you feel like you're experiencing a heroin withdrawal.
Yeah.
I think.
Which I think there might have been some heroin withdrawal.
Probably is what they were going through at the time. That's just like sludge metal, though.
Yeah.
That's, really nasty sludge metal. That's just kind of how you would describe all of it, basically. Sure. But yeah, that's, I guess what medal are you bestowing upon this? Maskanata to Chewbacca?
I think it definitely deserves a gold.
I 100% agree. But of course I do, because I'm me, and this is the Wonder Years.
And, and this is, mind you, I'm saying it deserves a gold from a position of a person who, if you played this for me, or you just gave me a copy of the album, I wouldn't fucking listen to it.
Yeah.
I would never do that. If you sort of made me, you're going to listen to this because we're going to talk about it. Okay, fine. Yeah. Let's do it. I wouldn't listen to this in my own Duran,
I've forced the Wonder Years on you enough that it's
I like it.
I really like it.
It
started to rub off on you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy. If there's one thing that I can be proud of with this podcast, it's that I made OJ like the Wonder Years.
All right.
Which I'm proud of that. Next week, what are you thinking?
Next week, what I'm thinking, we're going to go back into the 70s. We're going to do something that...
Into the 70s?
Going back into the 1970s.
Oh.
Because it's still going to be non-metal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to listen to an album that was a very important predecessor to its ilk.
Okay.
It's by two dudes. It's just two dudes. Who sat with...
Alan Two Dudes,
yes. From, Firefly, thank you. Anyway, no, it's Brian Eno and Robert Fripp.
I know one of those names.
Robert Fripp from the band King Crimson, and Brian Eno, a famous producer and music. He was in a band called Roxy Music.
Okay.
But they made an album together. It's a full-length album, 2 songs.
Okay.
It's called No Pussyfooting.
All right.
Yeah. I would love you to listen to that and go, I don't know, because I know you're not going to know how to feel about it.
Okay. All right.
Uh-huh.
All right.
They used guitar feedback and tape electronics, and they made an album out of it.
It's like a noise rock type, or like an ambient, or like a dark ambient type thing, or like just an ambient.
Give it a listen.
Kind of I mean, like, I've listened to some weird noise stuff, I guess. Not a lot of it.
You will appreciate.
I liked Boris. Boris gets to be weird, like kind of noisy sort of shit. But this is a lot of, this is one of those things. Is it literally just guitar feedback and tape hiss? Is that literally it?
No,
or?
tape effects.
Okay, and like analog effects essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's different.
Okay.
You'll like it.
If it's weird, yeah, I'll probably like it.
Yeah.
I might not know exactly how I feel about it, but I'll probably be able to distill it down to I like this.
I remember reading it was an article from Nashville Pussy.
What's with all? No.
Oh.
No, I don't remember this magazine.
No, that was the name of the band.
No, I don't.
It was a band that was being interviewed in a metal magazine.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I don't remember. You just said you were like, there's an interview in a magazine, Nashville, and then you said the words Nashville Pussy.
Yeah, there was a band called Nashville Pussy.
I was left to extrapolate.
But I was already familiar with this album and had a copy of it and enjoyed it. And then I didn't know anybody had ever heard of it. And they mentioned this is the song, this is the band album that they're more likely to listen to if they want to make love.
Sure. Of course.
Yeah.
I'm interested. We'll put it there. I mean, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah. I don't know what popped. I was thinking about noise and stuff. What popped in my head was everything at the end of time. Is that what it is? Or everything at the end of the world? Or there's a sort of ambient kind of noise thing where this guy took a bunch of like lounge music and ballroom music and stuff, and then slowly like corrupted and distorted it over the course of like a multi-release 6-hour project,
right, to make it to show you what going insane or dementia.
I can't remember. I think it was called like everything at the end.
It was 20s music. It was ragtime.
Yeah, it was a bit of everything in the 20s, but it was like it was a neat project, and it gets really fucking scary towards the end. Sure, because it's just weird noises. I think the artist is called Caretaker.
Yes,
and it was a really interesting project.
And I want to say it was an artist I've heard of. I mean, the actual person.
The guy's name. Yeah. He's done a bunch of other stuff. In your wheelhouse, because you really love dark ambient and that sort of thing. It was very much in your wheelhouse there. Anyway, until we talk about, what was it called again?
No Pussyfooting.
No Pussyfooting.
Yeah.
Next week, you can find us.
Frippanino.
You can find us on Twitter and on Facebook. We'll post episode links there if you're the type that likes to listen in your browser. Otherwise, subscribe to our feeds on Libsyn and the mobile version of that service, or on your Apple Podcasts app. Subscribe to our feed.
Sure. And
you'll get episodes delivered freshly made, warm out of the oven.
Oh, and a week old.
To you. And also a week old. We left it sitting out on the counter for a week, and then we put it in the oven.
Right.
So it's still probably safe to eat, but it's going to be gross.
At least a little bit.
It's going to be a little gross.
Yeah.
But
even though I'm well aware that your mom and sisters listen to this, I apologize.
That's all right.
The Borner family.
No, it's all right. They know.
By now they know. If they haven't figured it out by now, someone's in a coma.
Hope it's not Hannah.
Yeah. After that car wreck.
Thanks for the. By the way,
made me sad.
By the way, sister, thanks for the ride. Because that was the name of
the song.
Okay, thanks very much for listening to this episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.